The burner phone buzzed once on the coffee table, its small screen lighting the dim room. Kevin Hayes reached for it, his hand steady on the cheap plastic. He read the first line, and his face emptied of all warmth. Mark's message was for Suze, sent one digit off. It described their last meeting in explicit terms. Kevin stood by the study window, the autumn evening fading outside as he held the phone. He placed the burner next to the green lamp, the screen still aglow with Mark's words. Half his face was lit by the phone, the other half in shadow, his lips a thin line. Then he saved the message, a deliberate click. The evidence was locked.
You are laughing, but you have no idea that I just read every word Mark sent you.
Kevin set down his glass. The investigation would start tomorrow. Susan would never see it coming.
Late meetings, cash withdrawals, a new perfume I didn't buy. The signs were everywhere.
He placed the text message on his scanner, capturing a digital copy before it could slip away.
Don, it's Kevin Hayes. I need your eyes on my wife. Can you meet me today?
Don McGuire arrived in a rumpled trench coat, took the back booth at the coffee shop, and ordered black coffee.
She's been distant. I found a message meant for her. I need to know who Mark is and how deep this goes.
This is Mark Rennick. He works in her department. I can have photographs by Friday.
Don's private investigator license lay on the table. A quiet reassurance of 2 decades in the business. Kevin slid a thick envelope across the table. Cash. Don pocketed it without counting. Don asked if Kevin wanted a quiet operation. Kevin told him that was the only requirement. Kevin sat in his car outside the coffee shop, the net cast, and waited for Don's first report. On Friday morning, Don approached Kevin's sedan in a downtown parking garage and handed him a tablet. The screen showed Susan and Mark leaving the Grandview Hotel, her hand tucked inside his elbow. Kevin's eyes didn't blink. He stared at the image until Don lowered the tablet.
Mark Rennick, her co-worker, not just a fling.
He's in your wife's sales division. I've got 3 separate meetings just this week.
Get me the pattern. Times, places, receipts, anything that ties them together.
That afternoon, Kevin parked near Susan's office and watched her leave with Mark in the passenger seat. 2 days later, he found a hotel receipt in her glove compartment. The Grandview, last Tuesday at noon. He photographed it with his phone, the date and room number clear as an indictment.
One more piece. I am building a cage she won't see until it's already shut.
That night, Kevin opened the joint bank statements, the paper cool under the desk lamp. His finger tracked the columns, pausing on a single entry from 4 months earlier. Transfer to household maintenance, $47,000, no contractor's name, no invoice attached.
There's no maintenance project this year. That money didn't go to any plumber.
At dinner 2 evenings later, Susan was still pleasant, still lying to his face as she passed the bread. Kevin asked about the transfer with a casual tone, never glancing up from his plate. Susan's hand stopped, the wedding band catching the chandelier light for an instant.
That was the roof and some plumbing work. I handled it, don't worry.
No roof inspection, no plumbing, just lies on top of lies.
Kevin poured himself a neat whiskey, the liquid amber under the green lampshade. The money trail was now a second front. The next morning, Kevin plotted her route to work on a city map, then started the engine and waited. He followed her sedan at 2 cars' distance, keeping pace as she missed the office exit. She turned into the lot of a branch bank on the edge of the city. Kevin parked behind a delivery van and lifted his phone as Mark Rennick emerged from the bank's front door. The 2 of them stood by the ATM, Susan handing him a manila envelope, Mark tucking it inside his jacket.
They're not just sleeping together. They're moving money.
3 hours later, Don sent over a preliminary report. A joint checking account opened in both their names 8 months ago. The account statement showed the $47,000 listed as an initial transfer, followed by monthly deposits.
8 months. That's not an affair. That's a business plan.
He added the documents to the growing pile on his desk, the evidence now heavier than any single betrayal. One morning, Kevin searched her glove compartment again and unfolded a real estate listing. At his desk, he studied it. A rustic cabin, price circled in red, the sales agent's name beneath. He texted Don the address. The deed came back within the hour, recorded 3 months ago, listing 2 co-owners. Kevin traced the signatures. Susan Hayes and Mark Rennick, equal owners.
They bought a cabin together. That's not an escape. That's a new address.
By evening, Don had obtained the key, a small brass piece tagged Cabin 7. He added the deed and key to the evidence pile, a map of her double life.
She's not leaving me. She's building a house to walk into.
He set the burner phone beside the pile. The first mistake, and the last.
All this paper, and still she smiles at me across the dinner table. I need someone colder than her lies.
He spent the evening on his laptop, searching for a family law attorney with a reputation for protecting assets. He read the profile of Elena Vasquez, a partner at a firm an hour outside the city.
I'd like to schedule a consultation with Miss Vasquez as soon as possible. It's a confidential matter.
2 days later, Kevin drove to the neighboring town and pulled into the glass and steel office building. The receptionist asked him to sign in. He wrote only his initials and the time of arrival. He waited in Elena Vasquez's office, the blinds casting stripes of afternoon light across her desk.
She's supposed to be the best. Let's see if she can handle what I'm about to hand her.
Elena entered, sharp in a navy pantsuit, and offered her hand with professional calm.
Miss Vasquez, my wife has been living a second life. I have proof, and I need to know my options.
Let me see exactly what you have, Mr. Hayes.
He laid the folders across her desk. Photographs, bank statements, the deed to Cabin 7. Elena studied the $47,000 transfer and set the paper down with a look of cold understanding.
We file a sealed complaint. It remains confidential until service and gives you control over the timing.
And she won't know I am behind it until the server finds her.
Exactly. Your assets stay protected, and the element of surprise is yours.
Kevin looked at the evidence spread before him, then back at the attorney.
Draft it. I want it ready by tomorrow.
Elena worked through the afternoon, and by 5 o'clock the petition was printed and waiting on her desk.
I'll review it at home. No signature until I've looked at every line.
That night in his study, Kevin read every clause of the petition, then signed his name with a pen that didn't shake. He returned to Elena's office at 8 the next morning, the document folded inside his coat.
It's sealed. She won't see a thing until we choose the moment.
He walked out into the autumn chill, the first phase complete.
She asked about my day, and I told her I browsed a hardware store. She smiled. No questions.
Later, alone in his study, he took out the burner phone and connected it to his laptop. He printed the text, the original words that started this war, onto a single sheet of paper. Then, he laminated it, sealing the evidence in clear plastic, an artifact of betrayal.
When she sees this, there will be no denying it, no excuses, just the cold, hard words.
He slid the laminated note into an envelope, then locked it in his desk. The weapon was ready.
Lessine, the corner table where I knelt. That's where she'll see this.
He called the restaurant where he proposed 32 years ago, his voice calm and unremarkable.
Table 22, Friday at 7. 2 guests. Mark it as a special occasion.
The maitre d' confirmed, and Kevin set the phone down. Outside, dusk had already claimed the leaves. The next call went to a process server he'd arranged through Elena's office. The man answered on the first ring. Kevin gave him the details. Lessine, Friday, 7:15. Approach silently, ask for Mrs. Hayes. The server confirmed the sealed envelope was already in his possession, with the court stamp clearly visible.
30 seconds after I hand her the text. That's how long she gets before her handshake with the law.
He hung up and placed the laminated card into his coat. The reservation was made, the trap was set. He dialed Susan and said, "Wear something nice Friday. I am taking you back to where it started. Through breakfast the next day, Kevin buttered his toast as if the world had not shifted beneath him.
I still can't believe you booked Lysine. You've been so sentimental lately.
Maybe I am just remembering what matters.
The week unfolded in routines. Coffee, the paper, her phone buzzing at odd hours.
She laughed at texts from him, and I smiled like a man who knew nothing.
Thursday, he saw her packing an overnight bag, saying it was for a work trip.
Of course. Drive safe.
That night, he ironed his shirt and placed the laminated card in his jacket.
24 hours. Then she'll understand what it means to be prepared.
He drove to the restaurant an hour early, watching the staff light the candles through the glass. He locked the sedan, then walked across the damp leaves toward Lysine's glowing door. He pulled open the heavy oak and stepped inside. The warmth wrapped around him like memory. At the bar, he ordered a mineral water and touched the laminated card inside his jacket. It was still there. He excused himself and found a quiet corner to dial the process server. The call connected on the first ring. The server's voice was low. "I am parked across the street. I'll walk in at exactly 7:15. Kevin hung up and slipped the card back into his pocket. He felt its plastic edges press against his chest.
20 minutes. Her last dinner as my wife. Then she'll understand what cold really feels like.
He walked to the front window and saw the server's car pull into a spot across the street.
No mistakes. No early move. Everything precise. Just as I planned it.
Through the glass, Susan's silhouette emerged from a taxi and straightened her dress. He turned toward the door. He met her at the entrance, the autumn air still clinging to her coat. She smiled, and he offered his arm. The maitre d' led them past candlelit tables to the corner alcove, the same one from 32 years ago. Kevin pulled out her chair, and she settled into it like a woman who had believed the lie all week.
This is perfect, Kevin. Just like the night you knelt down right there.
She's talking about that night as if it still means something.
A waiter filled their water glasses. Kevin's hand rested on the table, steady, inches from the envelope in his pocket.
2 minutes. The server is walking across the street right now.
Susan lifted her water glass, the reflection of the candle catching her wedding ring.
That ring should have been off her finger 8 months ago.
The clock on the wall read 7:15. The dinner had begun. The waiter returned with a deep red Syrah and poured 2 glasses. Kevin watched the wine circle the crystal.
I can't remember the last time we had a bottle this nice. You are acting like a man with a secret.
Maybe I've just been thinking about how much we've invested in each other over the years.
He let the silence stretch, then placed his glass on the table.
I saw the bank transfer. $47,000 for household maintenance. Who's been working on the house, Susan?
It was for a new investment account. I didn't want to bother you with the paperwork.
Paperwork. You didn't bother to mention, just like the roof you said was leaking last year.
Kevin, what is this? It's just money for our retirement. You are being strange.
The retirement account. Another lie. I checked. Not a cent moved.
Kevin's hand moved toward his jacket pocket, then stopped. He gave her a final 3 seconds of silence. The 3 seconds ended. Kevin pulled a white envelope from his jacket and placed it on the tablecloth. He slid it toward her, the paper whispering against the linen, until it touched her wine glass. Susan's smile faded entirely. She looked at the envelope as if it were a weapon. She tore the flap open, her breath quickening, and pulled out the laminated card. For a frozen moment, she didn't understand. Then her eyes found the sender's name, Mark. The explicit details. Her face turned the color of the tablecloth.
Go on. Read it out loud. You wrote it together, didn't you?
She dropped the card, her hands trembling, and stared at him.
It was a mistake.
Kevin didn't answer. He simply watched her, his expression unreadable, the trap closed.
Kevin, how did you get that message? It was a private conversation. You have no right to see it. It doesn't mean what you think. I can explain everything if you just let me.
Kevin's jaw tightened, but he refused to give her a single word. Behind Susan, the process server appeared, a thick envelope bearing the county seal in his hand. He tapped her shoulder. She spun, her face draining of color, already broken. The man placed the divorce complaint squarely on the white tablecloth, the seal facing upward.
Susan stared at the legal papers, then back at Kevin. What is this? Answer me.
Kevin rose, slid his napkin onto the table, and looked down at the woman he had once trusted with his life.
Wait, Kevin, please. Just give me a chance to explain. Don't walk away.
He walked away from the table, past the candlelight, and did not look back once. Susan's hand remained outstretched, frozen in the air where his shoulder had been. The process server stepped back, leaving her with the sealed envelope and the laminated card. Kevin's footsteps echoed on the hardwood, fading toward the front door. He reached the coat check, retrieved his jacket, and did not look back at the corner table. The maitre d' held the door, and the autumn night rushed in. Kevin stood on the sidewalk, the glow of the windows behind him, and exhaled slowly.
It's over. Every lie, every hidden dollar. Closed.
He started the engine, the dashboard lights casting a soft amber across his face. Inside the restaurant, Susan sat motionless, the divorce papers spread before her like a verdict. The candle on table 22 burned down, wax overflowing onto the linen unobserved.
The restaurant shrank in the mirror, but the tension in his chest finally began to unwind.
The city lights blurred past, the rhythm of traffic a quiet confirmation that he'd done the right thing.
No more lies. No more pretending. Just the road and a future I get to define.
He pulled into his driveway and cut the engine, the house dark and quiet. Inside the restaurant, the dining room had emptied. Only Susan remained, staring at nothing. From the edge of the room, a waiter stepped closer, his voice low and cautious.
Number. Just leave me, please. I need a minute.
She gathered the documents with shaking hands, the laminated card slipping from her fingers. Kevin stood in his study, the desk empty now, except for the burner phone. He picked it up.
It started here, and it ends here. Tomorrow, the rest of the world can catch up.
The months passed like pages on a wall calendar, each leaf a step away from the night at Lessine. In a conference room, Kevin signed the final settlement, the pen steady. The cabin was attached as an asset.
Every document she tried to hide became the nail in her own coffin.
He bought a modern house with a study that faced the morning sun. The moving boxes arrived in June.
A room for the truth I earned. Not a museum of pain, but a workshop for what comes next.
Through the window, the lawn spread out under a fresh summer green, the old house already a memory. He unpacked the last box himself. The burner phone was at the bottom, wrapped in an old cloth.
The first mistake. It deserves better than a drawer.
He set it on the desk and poured a cup of coffee. The morning light made the room golden.
This is where I was always supposed to be. Not angry, just free.
In his new study, Kevin held the burner phone for the last time as a loose object.
It belongs on the wall, not hidden. A monument to the truth I chose to act on.
He fitted it into a shadow box and added a brass plaque engraved by hand. The plaque read simply, "The first mistake." He hung the frame above his desk, aligning it with the window's morning light.
Every day I'll see it. Every day I'll remember what patience and preparation can do.
He stepped back, the study quiet except for the soft hum of the coffee maker.
No anger, no regret. Just the quiet satisfaction of a plan completed.
He sat in the leather armchair, his coffee cooling beside him, and watched the light shift across the frame. The burner phone, once a secret, now a story, and the story was his alone. Kevin remained in the leather armchair, the afternoon light shifting across the frame on the wall.
8 weeks of silence, and every lie became a brick in the wall of evidence.
He remembered the burner phone buzzing on the coffee table, the the split second that divided his life.
Every step was deliberate. The PI, the bank records, the cabin deed. I left nothing to chance.
He felt no anger, only the quiet weight of a man who had rebuilt himself from the ground up.
The plaque should read, "The last day I trusted her."
He lifted his coffee mug, cold now, and set it aside. The study was exactly as he intended. A room for a man who had walked through fire and kept his hands steady.
This isn't about revenge. It's about the quiet power of evidence over emotion.
A faint smile touched his lips, the first unburdened one in months, and he let it stay. He left the house and walked the path through the park, the autumn leaves crunching under his shoes. The air was crisp and clean. And for the first time in months, his thoughts were quiet. He returned to the study as the sun slipped low, the glass casting long shadows on the floor. He did not need to look at the frame to know it was there. Its presence was a part of the room now. The burner phone sat under glass, a relic of a life he no longer had to tolerate. The plaque reminded him that a single moment could change everything. If one was ready to act, he had been ready. And now, the silence was his own. The chair sat empty, but the room was full of something harder to define. The first mistake had been hers. The last word would always be his. And in that quiet study, the truth hung on the wall, waiting for no one else.